What's up, guys? This is K LO, and normally I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming, but welcome back to another episode of Community Kitchen, where we're cooking up the latest and greatest gaming news headlines. And who better to join me today than Aden? Why don't you say what's up?
Hi, everybody. I have no special thing to say this morning because I didn't think of anything. And so there you go. Kevin, it's your turn.
Oh, well, my turn. This is where I take the time to thank each and every one of you guys for liking these videos, subscribing to Game Sandwich, and joining our community Discord. Links to that is in the video description down below. Now, Aiden, you've been getting your fingers and your hands on a certain game, and we're here to kind of give you his first impressions of Wuchang Fallen Feathers. Now, I want to ask you straight off the bat. You're the Souls guy. You're the guy
Yeah,
that
yeah.
does all the soulsing and does all the
For reference here, one of us absolutely hates them, and then Kevin also refuses to play them.
damn. Throw me under the bus. I don't care.
Not sugarcoating that.
Hey, we all have our vices, but I'm gonna ask you. You've played Lies of P, that DLC, the Overture DLC. Of course, Elden Ring, Night Rain, all this fun stuff, Dark Souls. Where does this rank in the Souls pantheon for you?
Okay, so for reference here, people, I actually had early access to it. I just couldn't talk about it and everything, but I had early access to it, and
Oh,
I couldn't write a review for it because I was contracted by somebody else to write stuff. But this is just my general thoughts on the game in general. But I do have like at this point, after getting it early, have like over 160 hours into the game, and I've beaten it 5 times over.
my
So I have
gosh.
thoughts.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
I've
think
had
it's
to.
safe to say you got some thoughts there.
I've beaten this game 5 times in a row.
Jeez.
It's exhausting at this point.
I can barely beat a game once, but here he is 5 times over. Man.
But yeah, yeah. But anyway, if I were to rank it, I'm not going to say it is nearly as good as Elden Ring, but I will put it on the same bar as like the original Dark Souls.
Okay.
I'll put it on that like same bar. Maybe like around like the original Dark Souls, Demon Souls kind of era, where it's like it definitely feels good.
Mm-hmm.
It feels strong. It's a well balanced game, but there are some nitpicky things that I'm like, they went a little too far with some things. They didn't go far enough with other things. But overall, if I had to generally like just review rank it, I would give it a solid 7, 7.5, something like that.
Oh, okay. That's high praise, especially for a Souls game. I know whenever games like that release, it's all about balance to the gameplay, and we're gonna dive into more of that stuff down later in the video. But first up, I want to start with the game's story because for me, uh, outside of just knowing it's a Souls game, I want to know what this game is about. Potentially not giving spoilers for some people out there
Okay.
who are looking to get this game.
Well, there's
Oh
there's no
gosh.
spoilers to be had here because I literally don't understand the story.
Fair point.
It's just
There
like
we
you
go.
get infected by some random thing called the feathering, and then that's like it. That's it. That's all I know. That's
Okay.
all I know. And you use it to just murder things. Hey, I'm not in it for the story. I'm never in a Souls game for the story. So,
Hmm.
I mean, even like you ask me Lies of Peace story, I don't know it. I just know you
Okay.
play as a puppet and you murder things. And hey, I'm happy with that. Like Dark Souls. I know nothing about Dark Souls, like Dark Souls' story, other than what I've seen like from Vadi Video and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know it. Don't care to know it. I just like slashing and dashing.
Hey, there's feathers involved. They might have fallen at this point. You just
Yeah.
your weapon. Just go and kill. That's a story I can get behind. I've watched some gameplay and some trailers surrounding this game, and I personally loved the setting and where it was. Honestly, don't know where. I assume so. If I had to peg something, it's some type of spirit world set in like some ancient lore of something else. Can you speak to anything about the setting? Did you enjoy it? Was there
Okay.
things you were like, about?
Now, here's where I can delve into things. Okay, the setting, I heavily enjoyed the setting. I actually do really enjoy the different map layouts. So basically, it starts you off like kind of normal world, in a sense, where it's just like everything feels more or less normal. But how do I put this? Okay, so like you start off in this area where it goes around like the Reverend Temple and then also Shu Sanctum, and that whole map connecting the area just feels normal. It feels very coherent. It's very like very linear almost
Hmm.
in a sense, but that's good to start with, so that way you have like a linear sense before you open the world up to explore. Then by the time you hit Shu Sanctum, you're able to actually branch out and start exploring a bunch of stuff, and it's really nice. And one of the things and why I say it feels very like much like the original Dark Souls is it has that innate like discovery about it where it's like, oh, you discover a path and then you're like, oh man, this path connects back to an area where I've already been and it just loops around and everything. And then like it's kind of like in like Dark Souls where it's like, oh, you end up hitting one of the like shortcuts or whatever in like Blight, not Blighttown, like Undeadburg or whatever, and it loops back to Firelink Shrine, and you're like, oh shit, like
Hmm.
you're like, oh crap, this elevator leads down back to Firelink. Oh, that's awesome, and everything. It's kind of like that where I was exploring. Hit an area, saw a door, and was like, "Oh, you know what? Hey, cool door." And then I was like, "Oh crap, I'm back at Reverend Temple." And went, wow, that's cool that I went through like this massive path and it linked back, and now I have like a shortcut to link
Oh.
over to this area.
So does that promote going back to areas like I don't know as far as like you get power-ups or certain weapons that unlock certain things? Does that promote the going back to the starting area and kind of unlocking a new path or anything like
So
that?
not so much like going back to unlock new paths, not so much that, but there is a lot of going back to areas that you've been to in order to like complete like quests or to also like discover new things in general. Like
Okay.
really not a spoiler here. Like, well, it is a spoiler, but not a spoiler, so I'll keep it vague. But like one of the NPCs at some point becomes a boss.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
so like there's a whole point where like, oh, you hit the end of the game and then you have to loop back in order to find him specifically as a boss in a specific location.
Okay.
And only at that point does the area that you find him in actually become a boss arena. So it's actually like it's pretty cool that it does that. There's also like one NPC quest line where it's like you've been through the area already, but if you loop back around and go to the area again, you'll find an item that you couldn't get before that completes another quest line for another character. So it's like it's
Okay.
pretty nice. But overall, like settings wise, after you go through that like normal area, it starts getting more like supernatural-esque or like really it delves into like sort of like the monster side of things where you start seeing like monster enemies and everything and like people who are infected by that like feathering stuff but who've like gone insane.
Okay.
And so like the further you go, the better it is with the setting and like the more you get the opportunity to explore and like the bigger the map areas become.
Okay.
But I will point out, and I don't know if this will ever come up with your questions or not, so I just want to point it out here. But one of the things I can't stress enough is it feels like the developers, and this is my biggest gripe with it, it feels like the developers decided that with the map locations, they wanted to take the essence of Dark Souls, like screwing you over, and like ramp it up to the max. Like it just feels like that. Like you go to the rebel camp, and like every 5 feet there is a landmine that if you step on it, it just pops up and explodes, and you're just
Yikes.
sent flying. And I can't tell you how many times in my first playthrough I died in the rebel camp just solely from hitting landmines. Not from enemies at all. It was like I'd clear out all of the enemies, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I'm safe," and then I'd go dashing through the like snowy areas, and then hit a landmine and be like, "Oh, I'm dead."
Oh, well.
And like so like they do that, and then there's another area where it's like there's a bunch of like thin corridors that you're going through, and then they specifically get these enemies that inflict a status effect called despair on you, and they just hide them throughout the whole area. Like every chance they get, there's like another one of them, and like the despair mechanic is like when the status bar fills up, you just instantly die.
Oh, no.
So it's like, come on, why are we doing this? Like that feels like so cheap.
Well, you brought up mechanics. I want to know core key gameplay mechanics that you've enjoyed? Is there anything that this game does different than other Souls games? And because you beat it 4 times over, 5 times over, how long is the game in general?
Okay. Well, first of all, first playthrough of the game, I'd say I put in, and this is with me like actually like searching for every item. I put in like approximately like 60 to 70 hours. So it's actually
Wow.
fairly big if you
Yeah.
are like going in depth and like looking for each thing. But subsequent playthroughs, like I did another playthrough where I didn't go into like New Game Plus or anything
Hmm.
and just like restarted the game, went, okay, start from the basics. And that run without me looking for everything, with like knowing where items were and everything, that one took me approximately like 30 hours. So
Okay.
really it was like time cut in half because I like kind of rushed through a little bit,
Yeah.
but I still completed majority of the things. It's just I knew how to do it and where to go at that
Hmm.
point. So, I mean, really take that as you will. It's like probably 30 hours if you rush it, 60, 70 hours if you don't.
That's fair.
Even with the 60, 70 hour thing, though, I didn't find everything. So
Wow.
that's just saying something. There's a lot in there that's hidden. But also mechanic wise, like the thing that stands out the most to me specifically is that there is an actual like skill tree.
Okay.
Usually Souls games they have like stats. Like you level up, oh okay, you level up your individual stats, like oh, level up your strength, level up your agility, level up whatever. Usually they have that. In this one, it's like you have what's called the impetus repository, which is essentially like a massive skill tree network
Okay.
that, oh, one branch is like there's a branch for each weapon type, and then there's one branch for like your general like increases that's like, oh, health, like increase your flasks, increase your like abilities overall. And that I think that one's like it stood out to me with that, but it also stood out in the sense of you're allowed to just reset your skills at any point. So if you're ever like, oh man, I'm tired of using long swords and you want to like completely undo your progress and like spec into like one-handed swords like I did,
Hmm.
then you can. You can just like take all the points out of long swords and just go straight into one-handed swords and use them all.
Ah.
Which
Okay.
very nice. And I like that specifically there's also the mechanic of like it's called Skyborn Might, and so what it is like if you perform a perfect dodge or if you do certain things with each weapon, because each weapon has its own way of getting it. But if you perform certain actions or do perfect dodges, then you get like stacks of what's called Skyborn Might, and you can only have 5 of them at max, like when you max it out. And that allows you to amplify your abilities, but also allows you to like use magic. So
Okay.
at first I used a magic build, which I absolutely loved. Loved my magic build until they updated the game and kind of ruined it. But hey, whatever.
Hey.
I'm a little salty about that.
Uh-oh.
But but anyway, with the magic though, each one has a cost of like Skyborn Might stacks that you have to spend in order to use it. There you go. But then you also have like skills, and each weapon has its own special skill that you can perform without it. Or if you use Skyborn Might to perform it, then it has like special abilities that activate.
Hmm.
Like my favorite weapon is specifically a one-handed sword that if you have Skyborn Might and you use its ability, then you jump backwards and like shoot out a like fan of like frost-covered darts
Ooh.
that end up like freezing enemies
Oh,
or like inflicting
nice.
frostbite on them. So
Okay.
that one's real fun.
Okay. Now, you mentioned your likes. We touched on dislikes. Is there anything else here that you kind of want to lay out for people who are unfamiliar with the game, whether it is a like or if you want to tear into the game more? This is your time.
Okay, I'll tear into the game just a little bit
Just a little bit.
here. Like so there's a few things that I didn't like, and one of them I pointed out was like, enemy placement trying to screw you over a little bit because it really felt like that. And to my defense on this too, they released an update immediately after the game released
Okay.
that made it so that there were less mines in the rebel camp. So just to speak truth to what I was saying here,
Hey.
even the developer realized that they went a little too far.
They're like,
A
eh,
little too far
maybe
on
we
that.
did a little too much
But
here.
but there are there are certain things that I liked and certain things I didn't like. But the things I didn't like are like so. What I spoke about the despair mechanic specifically, and so one of the things I didn't like is I don't mind when there's like quote unquote fan service in a game. Like I don't mind it.
Yeah.
To each their own. Hey, I am a very much an aesthetics person. Like I like certain armor sets. I like making my character look cool.
Yeah.
There's some really cool armor sets in this game. Just pointing that out. There's some really cool ones. And if you are one of those people who likes the fan service, there are some really fan servicey armors as well. But I don't like it when that fan service kind of feels forced in a sense. And in this game, it kind of does, in a sense, feel a little bit forced in that I played through, like, my first playthrough, I'm trying to find everything that I possibly can, and then I get to that area with the despair mechanic, and I'm like, well, my despair bar is like going up insanely fast. I need a way to not have that happen.
Yeah.
And so I put on the armor, all the armor that I had that had the highest despair resistance, and it just so happened to literally be like my character basically standing around in a bra and panties. I
Oh.
was like, why does that have to be a thing?
Yeah. No.
Like the
I-
highest stat bonus for this shouldn't be like delegated to being like, oh, you have to be the skimpiest possible character ever. But hey, it's whatever. It's not like the biggest gripe. It's just like, hey, that's something I generally don't like is when that feels forced. But also with things feeling forced, there were some certain parts of the game where it felt like you are forced into using specific builds.
Mhm.
Now, this doesn't become a problem in New Game Plus. In New Game Plus, like you can feel like you can use any build and it's like super powerful against any boss. But in the beginning of the game, I felt like I could use any weapon and I felt really good about using any weapon. At first, I was using a longsword. Then I started using a one-handed sword. Then I switched to a spear when I picked one up, and I switched to an axe when I picked one up. And I tried each one,
Yeah.
wanted to try out each weapon type to see what I like and what I don't like. Generally, though, when I hit the first like real big wall in the path, where it's like, oh hey, this is the first boss that will kick your ass,
Of course.
like hard. Like her name is the like Commander Honglin,
Okay.
and specifically when you hit her, it feels more or less like you are forced into using a specific build in that you're forced into using longswords because she is super easy to parry. And so it's like, and I'm not the only one who felt like this. Everyone that I was working with alongside who was working on the game and trying to figure everything out with it, they specifically all agreed that yeah, it felt like they were forced into using specifically longswords with the parry mechanic, so that way they could parry her attacks and get through the fight.
Mm-mm.
But then in New Game Plus, all of us immediately changed our tone because we were like, oh, now that we've unlocked all these abilities, we can just like run in and be like, oh, okay, let's parry her with a different weapon because another weapon type gets the parry mechanic. Or, oh, let's run in and just use axes because axes can like throw her on her ass very easily. And so it became like a, hey, all of this is viable now. But it just felt like in the first playthrough it wasn't. And I don't know, I just feel like that was a little bit of a downside there.
Okay.
And let me think. Was there anything else that I wanted to bring up specifically that I didn't like?
Negative or positive, we welcome it all.
Well, I mean, positive wise, like I said, the maps, great job. I do like how they did the NPCs as well. NPC quest lines, I think, were really fun. I
Okay.
think that I think it's a huge positive whenever you have NPC quest lines that you get invested in, and that like you have to go back to new areas to find like back to old areas to find new items and everything, or to find NPCs and everything. So I
Yeah.
really like that. The boss fights, all were amazing. I absolutely loved all of them. And I will say this though, some of the earlier game boss fights feel so much harder than the late game boss fights. Like the last two bosses in the game The first time I fought both of them, I killed them.
Okay.
But yet I struggled so hard with the commander fight. But the last two bosses in the game, I was just like, yep, this isn't a big deal. Whatever. And just kept dodging and attacking and was like, yep, this is easy. So I feel like there's like some balancing that needs done there. But,
Okay.
I mean, that could have just been me. But then also negative on it too, that I just thought about is that like I love the NPCs a lot. I love the quest lines a lot, but I also don't like how touchy the quest lines are. I feel like there should be a little bit of leeway given here because I was going for the good ending, or not the good ending, the true ending or whatever. And for the true ending, this is a slight spoiler. There are two NPCs that are involved in the true ending, but specifically when you reach the end of the game, the whole thing gets screwed over if you talk to the two NPCs in a specific order. Like if you talk to the guy first instead of the girl, then the whole quest line gets ruined and you don't get the true ending.
So all the work you've done leading up to that
Yeah,
point just
exactly.
oh,
And so I'm
I'd be
like,
pissed.
yeah, that happened to me and I was like, are you kidding? I was like, are you kidding me here? Like, why? Why is it like I specifically have to talk to her first? Like, I get that she gives you an item. I do. I get that she gives you an item to give to the guy. But I feel like even if you talk to the guy first and then get the item afterwards, you should still be able to go back and talk to the guy as long as he hasn't disappeared.
Yeah, and this is all hinging on everything you've done leading up to that point, which
Yeah.
I mean, if I was devoting, let's just say, 30 hours to a game and then I get screwed over because of two NPCs that, like, let's just say I don't know about them, I'd be a little upset. I'd be a little ticked off,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah. It annoyed the crap out of me. And I was like, okay, I'm so done with this. I immediately just rushed the ending of the game because I was like, well, I know I'm getting the bad ending. So I just rushed the ending of the game and went, okay, new game plus time.
It's
Let's
time.
go.
It is time. Well, do you have any final thoughts here, or are we good to send off
Um,
Wuchang Fallen Feathers?
just like if you are a Souls fan, you'll probably like this one. It is fun. It reminds me a lot of Wukong. Reminds me a lot of that. Reminds me a lot of Sekiro, but also it has that real nostalgia feeling of like the original Dark Souls with like level design and finding your own path. And genuinely, it's a fun game. Like I don't think it's amazing. I have seen some issues with it. I've had some glitches with it. I'm not talking, PC like player whiner baby complaints where they're like,
PC
"Oh man,
Master Race.
it doesn't run properly on my PC." Well, you know what? Get a better PC. It's not the game's fault. Honestly, the game runs perfectly fine, and I have a
Skill
PC,
issue.
and that's what I'm playing it on. So, you know what? It's just like if it doesn't work on your PC, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. But I haven't seen any issues with it. My own like performance wise, my issues are all strictly like gameplay focused, but genuinely it's a fun experience. After beating it 5 times, I'm honestly like sick of it, but I think anybody would be sick of it after beating it 5 times in a row.
You know,
But
a little
but you know,
repetition.
but yeah. But I think you should check it out if you are a fan of Souls games and you want like something that like breaks the mold a little bit and has like a fast feel to it. Oh, you know what? Here, I'll leave with one final negative because I just mentioned fast and it just made me think of it.
Sneaking it in.
The animations bugged the crap out of me, and I feel like they are way too slow. Some of the bosses are extremely fast and will attack you relentlessly to the point where even if you are on the ground, they can still damage you. And I feel like you should have iframes when you're standing up, kind of like in Dark Souls. But also, I feel like your healing is really, really slow compared to the speed of which you do everything else in the game. Like, everything in the game is like really fast. And then all of a sudden, when you heal, it's like the speed of the original Dark Souls where you have to stand still and be like, okay, really slow.
Yeah.
Oh, that bothered me.
Hey, it's all
But it
about
just makes
speed.
finding your healing windows like a lot more difficult.
You gotta think
But
10 steps ahead, apparently.
yeah, exactly.
Well, hey,
But that's my final thoughts though. I hope you guys enjoy the game if you check it out though.
very informative. I mean, if I had to take any word on a Souls game, I'm going to Aden, so by all means, take his words for gospel. Me, on the other hand, no clue what I'm talking about outside of doing this outro and intro. So that about does it here for this episode of Community Kitchen. We hope you guys enjoyed. Remember, if you want more content just like this, keep it locked to Game Sandwich for all your gaming news, rumors, and reviews. And if you want, why don't you join our Discord where we're talking about games just like this and pretty much anything else out there in the wild. So yeah, I've been K LO, joined by Aden, and we'll see you guys next time. If you enjoyed today's video and want more content just like this, consider subscribing to Game Sandwich for all your news, rumors, and reviews. And we'll see you guys next time.